I'm gonna speedrun everything wrong with every F1 team while putting them in a tier list, with S being pretty chill and F being chaotic, drama lovers, and absolute bonkers. As they say, all that glitters is not papaya. McLaren is one of those teams that looks like pure good vibes on the outside, but the second the lights go out, the pit wall turns into a high school group project. And to be clear, this isn't even a driver problem. Lando and Oscar can both drive the wheels off anything. The issue is that the team around them has a long history of turning strong weekends into how did we mess that up moments. And we saw that literally 3 months ago at the Las Vegas GP. The biggest problem is quite simple. McLaren still has midfield habits. Old habits die hard. You can give them a rocket ship of a car and they'll still make decisions like they're fighting for P8. Strategy calls, pit timing, and basic execution have been a recurring headache for years. Think Brazil 2018, where they told Alonso to box to overtake while he was 16th, then followed it up with an unsafe release.
Okay, Fernando, it's box to overtake, box to overtake. How's the balance? I don't know! Stop, stop, stop. And the other William Stroll is just leaving the pit lane now. No more radio for the rest of the race.
Or the slow pit stops that pop up at the worst possible time, even though this is the same team that used to break pit stop records. Fast forward to when they actually had a title level car, and these guys couldn't stop shooting themselves in the foot. In 2024, the MCL38 was flying, but Silverstone turned into a masterclass in self-sabotage. They nailed Lando's first call when the rain hit, then left Oscar out an extra lap on a track that was already soaked. Later, when it was time for slicks, they put Lando on softs instead of hards, and the win slipped away. Using hards would have been a pretty simple decision for every F1 team to make, but apparently not McLaren because they have to have galaxy brain things. Hungary 2024 was another awkward one, with strategy miscalculations forcing an uncomfortable position swap that made everyone feel super weird. Add in papaya rules, team orders that often kill teammate battles, radio messages worded so vaguely they cause more confusion than clarity, and it's a miracle they won the Constructors' Championship. And just to spice it up, McLaren somehow finds time for unnecessary drama too, especially with Zach Brown being everywhere, saying everything all at once. I promise that wasn't the movie reference. Even heading into a new season, they're taking gambles with limited prep, missed testing time, and a risk of starting slow. Honestly, I want to say F tier, but let's leave them at D tier and save F for Ferrari. At this point, every Formula One team knows Ferrari is a full-time emotional subscription service. And before we even begin, let's just put them in F tier already. One week you're screaming, "We are so back!" And the next week you're staring at a TV like your life choices personally caused a double-stack pit disaster. That's the Ferrari experience. The highest highs, the lowest lows, and somehow both in the same race. The saddest part is that Ferrari always looks like it's about to click. Their drivers arrive with hope in their eyes. The fans start dreaming again. And for a moment, it feels like the glory days are around the corner. Then, reality hits. Felipe Massa in 2008 looked set to become champion until the final twist ripped it away. Alonso spent years dragging the team into title fights only to lose by the tiniest margins. Vettel arrived like the chosen one in 2017 and 2018, but mistake after mistake turned his comeback story into a slow, emotional breakdown. Even Carlos Sainz got his big moments, won races, and still somehow ended up feeling like Ferrari treated him like trash. And then there's Charles Leclerc, the main character of suffering. Every season starts with promise, and every season ends with him hearing the same magic words on the radio. We are checking. I swear, if I were to get $1 for every time Leclerc had been given a vague answer to a problem, I would have enough to quit my YouTube career right now and go purchase a home in Monaco. I'm just trolling, guys. We're doing this for the love of the game, but take a look at this again.
Is there a leakage?
A leakage of what?
I have the seat full of water, like full of water.
Must be the water.
Let's add that to the words of wisdom.
Ferrari radios are legendary. These guys are programmed to respond with vague sentences that sound helpful until you realize they mean absolutely nothing. But the bigger crime is the strategy. Ferrari has a special talent for choosing the one option that ages badly within 2 laps. If rain is coming, they gamble. If slicks are needed, they hesitate. If everyone pits, they stay out. And if they do pit, they do it late enough to make sure both cars rejoin in traffic. Their love affair with hard tires in chaotic conditions deserves its own documentary. What makes it it even funnier, and more painful, is how fast Ferrari can switch moods. They'll go from disaster to sudden hope, like grabbing a sprint win and convincing everyone the comeback is real, then immediately dropping back into midfield confusion. Sometimes they even manage to lose after the race has been completed. Currently, it appears they're juggling different car approaches, burning resources early, and gambling big under the cost cap. The result is more pressure, more rumors, and more "this might be the year" energy from a team that hasn't truly ruled the sport in 2 decades. Red Bull has been ridiculously successful, but also the most stressful workplace ever created. First of all, Red Bull's driver program is basically a haunted house. One moment you're living the dream, the next you're getting replaced before you even finish unpacking your helmet. They don't develop talent, they speedrun it. Same thing I'm currently doing, but I hope I'm doing a better job. If you're not matching Max Verstappen instantly, you're treated like an expired energy drink, tossed out and replaced with the next can on the shelf. Kvyat gets demoted mid-season, Gasly gets thrown in and pulled out after a handful of races, Albon spends a year getting mentally cooked trying to keep up, and Perez tried his hardest but still got cooked. And the worst part? Sometimes the drivers don't even find out properly. Red Bull communication can be so slow you'd think they'd still deliver bad news by carrier pigeon. But even when the drivers survive, Red Bull's culture is still pure chaos. This team has been addicted to drama since day one. They've had teammate betrayals, teammate crashes, and teammate tension, and I've watched every bit of it with popcorn in my hands. Remember Baku 2018, where the 2 cars decided the best way to win was by deleting each other? The Checo vs. Max situation in Brazil had people picking sides like it was a global election, and this says a lot about their management structure. It's like a broken family tree. Everyone has influence, everyone has power, and everyone looks like they're one argument away from flipping a table. That kind of pressure creates fear, and fear doesn't help when you're trying to drive a car that already feels like it was built for one person only, because that's the biggest problem. Red Bull isn't really Red Bull, it's Max Verstappen and his custom-made rocket ship. The car is designed around his aggressive, pointy style, and he's so fast he can hide problems that would expose anyone else instantly. So when the car is good, Max looks unstoppable. But when it's not, the whole system starts shaking because the second seat becomes undrivable and the team suddenly looks mortal. Now mix in key people leaving behind the scenes, a new risky era with a Ford power unit project, and constant rumors about whether Max will stay. I say B tier. Mercedes used to be the unstoppable juggernaut of Formula 1. From 2014 to 2021, they practically wrote the rule book on dominance, winning almost everything in sight. But fast forward to 2025, and the silver arrows are looking more like a car trying to find its own reflection in a puddle. Sure, they still have one of the biggest engines on the grid, but apparently that's not enough to make the magic happen. Now onto the car. Mercedes has been wrestling with ground effect regulations since 2022, and the saga reads like a soap opera. They brought in a zero-side pod design meant to maximize downforce, simulations promised greatness, reality brought bouncing and porpoising. Then came stiff rear suspensions, flexible front wings, cockpit moves, geometry tweaks, you name it. Every season, it's a new patchwork of fixes, some working, others creating fresh headaches. And let's not forget the rules. Mercedes may have been helped by loopholes to gain an advantage in the past, but the FIA has noticed. Technical meetings, measurement changes, and careful scrutiny mean that their edge could vanish, or worse, be restricted in 2027. Meanwhile, Mercedes has to supply engines to Williams, Alpine, and McLaren, essentially helping rivals catch up. Their exclusive advantage isn't so exclusive anymore. Even with George Russell performing well and young Kimi Antonelli showing promise, the car isn't consistently a winner. Mercedes' troubles with suspension geometry, rear instability, and unexplained tire issues suggest that the team still doesn't fully understand the DNA of their own machine. They might have the talent and resources to dominate in 2026 with the new rules, but it won't be automatic. They still need to solve the mysteries that have plagued them all season. I would say B tier. But before we go, let's talk identity, or rather, the lack of it. For years, Mercedes' image was inseparable from Lewis Hamilton. He was the superstar, the face, the heartbeat of the team. Then, Lewis left for Ferrari, and suddenly, Mercedes is having a full-blown existential crisis. It's a problem Aston Martin knows all too well. Aston 1 in Formula 1 is the classic case of all bark, no bite. Perhaps that's due to the fact that Alonso is adorable. Despite massive spending, big-name hires, and the legendary Fernando Alonso at the wheel, the team keeps proving that hype doesn't automatically equal speed. It's like buying a rocket but forgetting the fuel. Part of the problem is an identity crisis that's been going on for decades. This team has more past lives than a cat. Jordan, Force India, Racing Point, Aston Martin. Each name change came with drama, scandals, and a new hope that somehow somehow fizzled. Along the way, they've dealt with messy ownership issues, been fined for allegedly copying Mercedes, and survived the owner getting arrested for debt evasion. Today, billionaire Lawrence Stroll bankrolls the whole operation, which basically makes Aston Martin a dad-funded rocket ship for his son Lance. And no, Lance doesn't count as the team's identity. He's in the car because his dad wrote the check, and his ego is apparently thicker than his eyebrows. The real fan base? Mostly Alonso enthusiasts. But before that, Vettel fans, maybe Max fans in the future, otherwise crickets. Then there's the car. The AMR 24 was hyped to fight for championships, but in reality, it seems to think midfield mediocrity is a feature, not a bug. Qualifying sometimes shows sparks. Fernando can drag the car into surprising positions, but that's just Alonso's superpower. Upgrades that are supposed to fix things often just make it slower, leaving the team fumbling harder than a toddler with a Rubik's Cube. C tier. Haas F1 is the ultimate, almost but not quite story of Formula 1. They arrived as America's big hope, promising to shake up the grid, but somehow became the team everyone laughs at. Right out of the gate, Haas leaned heavily on Ferrari. Engines, gearboxes, suspension parts, even access to Ferrari Simulator were all borrowed. That gave rookie Haas a surprising start in 2016, with Romain Grosjean finishing 6th in Australia, but it also meant that whenever Ferrari sneezed, Haas caught the flu. Case in point, 2019 Ferrari's engines got neutered by the FIA, and Haas had zero fallback. Overnight, the team went from scoring points to scraping the bottom of the midfield. Operationally, Haas is a mess. They're split between the US, the UK, and Italy. It sounds impressive until you realize it makes even simple logistics feel like a relay race across 3 time zones. Race weekends aren't much better. Haas regularly hovers near the back, and a P4 finish feels like winning a vacation to the Maldives. The 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix was a brief fairy tale when Kevin Magnussen finished 5th, only for the momentum to evaporate by the next race. Even historic highs like Magnussen's pole in Brazil or Grosjean and Magnussen's double points finish in Austria 2018 ended up being one-off magic rather than a trend. Pit stops often blow up in the team's face. Sponsorship chaos has been another running gag. First, there was the mysterious Rich Energy deal, which collapsed mid-season after a Twitter argument. Then came Uralkali bringing Nikita Mazepin into a race seat, a move that, combined with car crashes and financial strain, left Haas with 0 points in 2021. It's been a masterclass in how to keep your fans entertained off track. D tier. First off, management has been a full-on circus. Since Renault took over in 2016, Alpine has had more team principal changes than a Netflix series has plot twists. Otmar Schaffenauer, Bruno Famin, Olios. And then there is the engine situation, which is basically punishment for sins committed a decade ago. Renault decided early on that they didn't need to invest in hybrid engines. Fighting past glory would carry them through. Spoiler, it didn't. Alpine's car has been limping along ever since. Weak straight line speed, energy recovery issues, and all the hybrid era nightmares you can imagine. Come 2026, they'll swap in Mercedes engines, which might finally be the miracle shot in the arm. Still, Briatore insists 2026 is their redemption arc. And sure, maybe they'll sneak into the top 6 and start smelling podiums, but with rumors of Christian Horner getting involved, potential sales, and ongoing leadership chaos, Alpine is basically tiptoeing along a tightrope while juggling engines. B tier. Williams' current situation feels like watching a former heavyweight champion struggle to tie their boots before a fight. This is the team with history, prestige, and enough trophies to fill a small museum. Yet somehow they keep finding new ways to trip over the basics. Top of the list of disaster at the moment is skipping the Barcelona shakedown in 2026. In modern Formula 1, preseason testing is basically the first fight of the season, and Williams didn't show up. This comes after months of supposedly focusing on the 2026 regulations, pouring huge investments into development, and barely touching the 2025 program. Starting development in April and still missing testing is a wild contradiction. The situation gets murkier when you consider whispers that the chassis may have failed a crash test. That means the car might not even be safe to drive yet. For a team chasing marginal gains, having a car that's not fully legal or potentially unsafe is like showing up to the gym with only one sneaker. Williams has made real progress under James Vowles, culminating in multiple podiums at the end of last year. Fans could see a light at the end of the tunnel, but now, missing tests, delayed cars, and funding constraints threaten to erase that momentum before the season even starts. D tier. Racing Bull is the Formula One equivalent of living in your older sibling's shadow, and yes, it's as frustrating as it sounds. No matter what they do, no matter how fast they go, they'll always be stuck playing second fiddle to Red Bull. No independence, no long-term ambition, they basically bend the knee to the whims of the parent company, leaving little room to forge their own path. Unlike other ambitious midfield teams that spend years building infrastructure and dreaming of race wins, Racing Bull isn't really trying to become a front runner. And let's talk rookie risk. Arvid Lindblad, one of their newer talents, managed to beach it in the gravel during a shakedown. The structure doesn't help either. Red Bull controls who gets hired, promoted, or fired. F tier. We don't really have much on 2026 debutantes, Cadillac and Audi, but they're stepping into Formula One like cautious rookies, and honestly, it shows. Both teams are more focused on making sure their cars actually run than on chasing speed or podiums. They're taking things slow, finishing testing programs, surviving the race, and learning from every mistake. Deadlines aren't the priority, just getting the car to work reliably is. That's smart long term, but it means don't expect them to compete at the front anytime soon. Audi, running under the Sauber name, has its own headaches. They're already worried about tricks other teams like Mercedes might use, and they know reliability issues and failures are almost guaranteed in the first season. Their goal isn't to win races in 2026, it's to become competitive by 2030. Cadillac's approach is similar: steady progress over flashy results, learning the ropes, and trying not to make embarrassing mistakes early on. In short, I would say S tier, just cause we have nothing on them. And that's it. Make sure to check out this video on the biggest waste of talent in Formula One.